Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am back with Lainie Hodges for her year wrap up in the Year of Growth series. We're a little bit over a year just because Lainie's had so many amazing things going on. Let's start with Future Self Cocktails a couple months ago. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from that experience?
The biggest takeaway from Future Self Cocktails experience. I'd say my biggest takeaway was that you can choose to step into that person at any time. It doesn't have to be a Future Self Cocktails event. I can choose to do that right now in this moment or at any moment in the day. And having the experience of it and talking with a group into the future like that was really fun, and getting to hear what other people were saying was inspiring and gave me ideas as well. And I loved that when I looked at the pictures, my dress like really matched the scene around it.
Yes. I know, which is awesome. And it's like, I feel like there's a metaphor like for future selfing and stuff like that. It's like often you don't see it until you sort of step back and but when you can see it in the pictures, it's like, oh yeah, that looks amazing. But it's when you're in it, you don't see all the pieces necessarily.
Yeah. And I would say even when I looked at the pictures the first time when they were first sent to us, I was in a tough spot at that moment. And so there was a lot I couldn't see just because my brain was focused elsewhere. And once I had done some healing work and came back and looked at the photos, I saw different things. So I actually need to look at them again, because I had downloaded the ones that I really loved.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I've looked at again, and that's where I saw the match of the dress and the umbrella. So I'll go back and look at all the photos and see what else I see now that I'm in a much better place than when I first saw them.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say stepping into your future self, realizing how far you come is all about that, right? It's looking back. A lot of times it experiences to see the things that we missed or the things that were setting us up. Like in this case, it's photos. And it's like, oh, like now I'm in a different place. Like, let me see what else I love, right, about that. Or, and quite often it's looking back to see what's set us up to be here or what's setting us up for our future self. So that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love it. Very cool. All right. So just as a recap for the first, so Lainie had taken a future self workshop 2 or 3 years ago. Probably should have checked that date before we started recording, but we're just going to go with it.
I'm going to say at least 3.
Probably, yeah.
It was October-ish.
Yeah. So yeah, about 3 years ago. And at that time there wasn't an Enchanted Circle. And so then you came back, and when the Enchanted Circle opened about a year ago, or came back about a year ago. And so what do you think has been the biggest difference in both those two experiences, right? Because the workshop for you is different than it is. Everybody has their own experience. But I think it was more healing than it was creating in that moment or breaking down. How would you describe it?
With the first workshop?
Yeah.
Healing, which required breaking down.
Yes. See, like you look back, I love like healing came first, which is awesome because I think even in the past, we would describe it, right? It would have been breaking down.
Yeah. Like it's like the seed.
Yeah.
Has to be broken down in order for the flower to then bloom.
Yeah.
There was a lot I had to work through in that I had never done before. I think a lot of it was really building those new pathways.
Absolutely.
Which was challenging work.
Yeah.
And effective.
Awesome. I love it. And so then, a little over a year ago, like you came and you joined the Enchanted Circle. And how is this experience different than sort of like, I don't know, what do you call that, phase 1 or phase 2? Or so what's the biggest difference between them?
It's easier now. I remember it was really hard to, the first time, even express the feeling that I was feeling love, like feeling that emotion, like I felt
Yeah.
love. Something like
Yeah.
that was hard to write in the first workshop because I
Yeah.
was lacking a lot of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helped in the continued path on to get to love myself, to understand what that really meant and what it felt like. And now it comes very easily.
Yeah. That's awesome. I always love hearing that. What do you think is the biggest difference in who you are than you were about like 15, 16 months ago?
There's definitely a shift in the level of confidence that I have in my work, where I had maybe previously, I think it was more of like, I'm pretty sure what I'm offering is great. But I'm anxious about it, and I'm always worried, is the client happy, and like, did it do the right thing? Just a lot of anxiety around the work. And now I'm at a point where like, I have the thing you want. I have it. It's the shit. And if you don't take advantage of it now, you will someday. And then you'll be like, oh, why didn't we do that sooner?
Right.
So I'm the leveling up that I've done in my work is tremendous. And then personally, it's reflected as well, just in understanding and knowing my worth, and really standing in that in my personal relationships, whether those are romantic or friendships, but really just valuing who I am and what I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a different like, what would you say like a year and a half, 2 years ago, it meant to like stand and be who you are in a relationship? Do you think even that like understanding and that definition has shifted as you've stepped into it?
I think it's a recent shift for me to really understand and respect my value,
Mm-hmm.
and demand that others do. I think I spoke those words, but didn't then follow that up with action.
Yeah. I get that. What's the biggest difference in how you live your life?
From the first workshop, or from?
Let's do all three. Like what was different then, and then what's been different in the last year and a half?
What was different then? I'm trying to remember what.
I know, and if you
What
don't, it's
happened
okay.
then? Like,
You asked, so it was like, oh, okay, let's do
yeah.
that.
It's hard to even like reflect on what I think. There was a previous relationship that I was really struggling to see past then,
Mm-hmm.
which that's no longer the case.
Mm-hmm.
Even with this recent breakup with someone different than that person, I think that I'm very clear that my work is to focus on what I want my romantic partnership to look like, feel like,
Mm-hmm.
who that person, who I am in that relationship, who he is in that relationship, and allowing the universe to connect me to that person, or allowing that person to like step up and be that man in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than anything in the past, particularly 3 years ago, I would have been looking at a lens of like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I not chosen? And now it's like, of course you would choose me.
Right.
And if you don't, like, okay, next.
Yeah.
Like, not feeling sad about it. It doesn't mean that doesn't happen from time to time, but then I recognize when I'm doing it, I'm able to shift that.
Yeah.
So that's a big change from then. And then since I joined the Enchanted Circle, it's given me more clarity on just what I want my life to look like, with in terms of romantic partnership, how that fits into my work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think the continued clarity just around what I want in all aspects of life has been the biggest shift since joining the Enchanted Circle.
Yeah. I love that. And we kind of started talking about this seed breaking open when we were talking about the workshop. And I would really, as you were talking, I'm kind of like remembering just more of everything. And I think that, it was this seed being burst open in that first workshop, and you had to grow to the surface a lot. Right. And I would say in the last year and a half, like, you're at the surface and you're able to like get water and more nutrients and all the sunlight and really just like blossom and become this like fuller plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like right there.
Yeah, it is. It's yeah. It's
right
totally
there.
Right.
I feel it.
Yes, exactly. Right. And I think people forget the seed part. Like, that seed part is sometimes slower than we would like, and yeah.
Yeah. I think the patience and the trusting piece have grown around that too. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, you always want things to happen on your time.
Right. Like today, everything today.
Right. And very rarely does it do that. So being willing to just enjoy the journey and learn what there is to learn along the way, I think is a big shift for people in general to make, but I think particularly in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
It's a gift you can give yourself.
Right. And I think you've had experiences, like, now you've been in this game long enough that you've had experiences that show you why certain things didn't work out at certain times. And it was because you needed to grow in to just be able to handle that, and not even handle it, but to be able to then take that opportunity to the next level.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? Instead of have it be a one-off, thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 I've had some really big opportunities, the biggest opportunities of my business in the past year, for sure. Really in like the past 8 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
So February was the first one. So that's something I wouldn't have been prepared for the year prior. I might have thought I was, but upon reflection, I wasn't. That's where the opportunity didn't come.
Right. Which is awesome.
Yeah. And we needed some people to change around up in that corporate office.
Yeah.
Which they did. A very important person in terms of being able to come to that conference, moved on. And once the new person came in, it was a lot easier. So
yeah,
wait for that shift to happen too.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. So how would you say your story has changed? The story you tell about your life has changed?
Mm-hmm. My story has changed by getting bigger. So I remember, was it that workshop? Did we do the Sports Illustrated interview in that workshop at the?
We did.
We did.
It was at a seed level. I think we might have done it since then. We've done it.
That was you interviewed me as my future self in the living room of that apartment. Yeah. And I remember you like asking me when you started launching into those questions, having this moment of like, Sports Illustrated. I'm like, what? What is she talking? No. Okay, I'll roll with it. But like, there was a voice in the back of my head was like, how is that? Because I think I was focused in a different area of clientele at that point. And now I see it very clearly. So thanks for planting that seed.
You're welcome. That was your future self, right? I love it when you're welcome. And I think you were, I love that you said it that way. I was focused in a different area because I think what you wanted, like on some level, you didn't believe you could have yet. So it was almost like, the area that involves Sports Illustrated was like, it it was almost like, oh, it'll just be fun. I'll do a couple teams and but you hadn't fully let yourself, you were like, one team will believe in me. And I know the team that will believe in me enough to give me a shot. And I really think for you, it was like, that's just like sort of this bonus thing I get to do. It won't be my business, or, you know, I hadn't opened enough to like, oh, I can fully have what I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're crazy if you're not using me.
Right.
But I was looking at some of these scores and things that were happening with teams over this first weekend of football. And I'm like, well, you didn't hire me, so.
Right. Yeah. And
the teams that did.
That whole owning it, even what you just said, is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It used to be like, my work is cool and impactful and it has like a level of impact, right? And now you can see, and you even take more of an ownership in outcomes and are able to like, yeah, I had a part in that, right? Like, like that's totally a part of me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which, how does that feel different? Does it just feel normal now, or does it feel better? Does it feel more solid? Like,
I'd say it feels normal now.
mm-hmm.
Whereas even back in February, I wasn't using the statistic of that, like all of my teams but one went to the playoffs and one went to the Super Bowl. And I had like a shyness around that, or like that's bragging. I'm not quite sure what the story was I was telling myself. But now it's like, yes, almost all of my teams went to the playoffs. Yes, 85% of my clients won yesterday. Like, the proof is in the the pudding, and it's not like, oh, because they hired me, they won the game. Like, it speaks to a larger cultural stance as well. But that those teams with that kind of culture that breeds winning understand and honor and appreciate the value in my work and what I do and bring me out is a big leveling up.
Absolutely. So just sort of a little behind the scenes, I feel like back in February, which at this point is about 7 months ago, like it was like, it wasn't a secret, like it wasn't something you were keeping a secret, right? The amount of teams that worked with you that were in the playoffs, but it was more, you would tell me, you would say it on the call. Like, you put it on Facebook this morning, the percentage that won yesterday.
Right.
Right. And it was like, this is a fact, right? Like, it's a fact. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I should just track this every week, see how my teams figure out.
Absolutely. Which is even a bigger, like, speaks to the mindset and who you've become and just the way you look at things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to track my impact. Like, there is a way to track it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yep.
Yeah. I love that. So if you had a title, like, what's the story you're currently writing about your life and your future?
Story I am currently writing about my life, my future. She has it all.
Yes. I love it. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Feels awesome.
Yeah.
I was walking around yesterday, just going for a walk, because one of the things that brings me joy.
Yes.
And it was beautiful weather yesterday.
It was so gorgeous. Yes.
It is today too. I just went for a walk as well before our call.
Awesome. I love it.
Joy. And just saying out loud and in my head, like, I am ready. I want it all. I see I can have it all. Like, bring it. Bring the love, bring the work, bring the home, like, bring it. I am ready.
Yes, I love that. And so what is the difference between that, like, I'm ready, and wanting it? Because it's not, I'm guessing, the first time you've said, like, yeah, like, this is what I want, in a way, but it's very different. And you can hear the energy that this is like, yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Oh, the door is open, like, drop the packages, versus like, I really want this to happen. Right.
Yeah. What is the difference? growth is the difference. And
Is it a feeling of readiness? Is it like internally you can feel it?
yes, internally I can feel it. And I think part of it too is this like courage or bravery to just really just say it out loud.
Yes.
Thought it before and wondered, and it's like, no, now I'm ready.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. I just have to make sure I don't forget that.
Taking notes.
Yes, I'm on top of my desk. I am. I love that. That's awesome. And so like that's the shift that really like has that super attraction, right? Like that's when we get to this, like if we go back to the seed example, like we got to kind of push through the dirt and the seed. And then when you become a plant, it's like, yeah, give me the sunshine, like on all the leaves, like give it all to me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Load me up.
Right? Yes. Oh, I love it. So I want to wrap up with the fun story of trusting your intuition this morning and getting coffee. Cause it speaks everything, I think.
Yeah, well, I'd been dog sitting over the weekend, and so I knew that I personally was out of coffee grinds, like of brown coffee. So I only get my coffee from Whole Foods just because there's a flavor that I really like there. It's stronger and bolder than other places. I like bold coffee. So
right. Bold coffee,
I was
bold
like,
drinks.
oh, should I go now? Like, because the Whole Foods by my house is just as zoo at most hours of the day.
Right.
So I only go early morning or only go late at night. And I just decided like, oh, the traffic's not that bad right now. Well, I'm just going to go and get it. And so I went, straight to that one spot in the store, was grinding the beans, and this guy came around the corner in a really fresh, like old school Broncos jacket.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that's a nice jacket. That's really fresh. He's like, oh, thank you. And like, as my beans were grinding, he had stopped. I don't know what he was doing. I wasn't paying attention exactly to what he was doing, but I just said like, well, what do you think about the game tonight? Like, who's going to win? And so we were talking about the Broncos and Raiders and just having a conversation. And then, towards the end of it, he's like, can I contact you and like take you out for coffee? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I had not washed my face. I had not brushed my hair. Like I was not going to Whole Foods with the intention of like, maybe I can meet someone. But I've had that thought before.
Right.
Like you don't have to get on dating apps to meet someone. You can. It's just not something that brings me joy.
Right.
So it's more about who you're being. And
absolutely.
I could tell through the weekend in my social interactions that I had stepped back into that man attracting energy that had been not gone, but like that's just not where my focus has been in the past couple months because I needed to work through some things. So, but it's back and it is working. So,
and it works better when you follow your intuition. Like it was really an intuitive hit. Like it wasn't logical. Like, oh, traffic. It was like, oh, I'm supposed to go to Whole Foods right now, right? Yeah.
Do it now. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So awesome.
It was fun.
Cool. I love it. As we wrap up today in this Year of Growth series, is there any final thoughts, any words of wisdom that you would love to share?
I would like to share that this works. The work works. It's worth the effort. And you have control over how you feel and what your life experience is. And it will happen from time to time when maybe it feels like you've lost that control, or you're just going through some things where it doesn't quite feel that way. But just keep doing the work, and you can get back to happiness. You can get back to joy. You can get back to love. Doesn't mean that there's not room for other things, but you have the control to create that in your life, regardless of circumstances that you've been through or where you've been or what hand you were dealt. So that would be what I would say.
Absolutely. That is awesome. So tell everyone where they can check out your company if they're like feeling that like nudge, like I should find out more about her.
Yes, everybody should do improv. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is so fun.
You can reach me at www.improvaalchemy.com. So improvaalchemy.com. And my email is Lainie, Laini, @improvaalchemy.com. And you can also find me on Facebook, Improv Alchemy. So lots of places to track me down. I'd love to hear from you and share the joy of improv with as many people as I can in the world.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing this moment in your journey with us. Super excited to see what's next.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me and for all your help.
Of course. My pleasure. And thank you all for tuning in to Lainie's interview. Make sure to come back next week. Have a good one.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn more about enrolling in the Enchanted Circle, go to cassieparks.com.